I may have predicted Arsenal to win the Premier League title this season, but I do have some concerns or some worries. As we draw closer to the finishing line of the season, there are concerns and worries that I do carry, not as an Arsenal fan, but as a person who predicted that they will win this season's Premier League title. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another episode on your favorite football updates channel. Yes, for those of you that have recently subscribed, welcome to the Football Tribe UG community. Well, today we explore what my concerns or worries are in the run into the Premier League title race. Yes, it could go down to the wire between Arsenal and Manchester City. Arsenal carry a 7-point lead against Manchester City, who have played a game less, coming in second place. That game against Crystal Palace is the game that was rescheduled for the final that Arsenal have to play against Man City in the EFL Cup at Wembley come March the 22nd. Now, over the course of the long season, which is still longer because it's far from done, it has to climax on the 30th of May when the UEFA Champions League is played. Whether Arsenal will be in that final or otherwise remains to be seen. But at the moment, there are some points, there are some things that I've noticed that are of concern for me. One, I've seen Arsenal struggle to have a control over games. Whether they are leading the game or trailing, I've seen them struggle to have control in these games. That lack of balance is something very concerning. Now, this comes at a point where they are playing under enormous pressure. One, there's a lot of doubters out there on this Arsenal side that they cannot get it over the line. And I cannot blame the doubters. In any case, they have no precedent for them to look to say Arsenal can get it over the line. So their views that Arsenal will crumble away are very valid, because until Arsenal get it over the line, they're never going to believe that they are capable of doing it. In any case, there have been signs, multiple signs over the course of a long season where Arsenal have fallen short. We saw that in their 2-2 draw against Wolverhampton Wanderers, prior to which they had shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw against Brentford, a game in which they looked so poor. Just the other day, they played it out to a 1-0 victory against Brighton and Hove Albion. Yes, they will be happy they got all the 3 points, but they will know deep down their hearts that performance was quite very wanting. So, in other words, Arsenal's lack of control in games, in terms of playing teams to board. It's Mikel Arteta who said he wants his team to be dominant on the ball, to dominate teams, both in their own halves, but also in terms of overall ball control. However, this season, they seem to be failing at that. There's not, oftentimes, I've seen Arsenal fail to dominate possession, but more importantly, when they've had leads, they've conceded possession and invited pressure on themselves. That lack of control is a concern for me, with 8 games for the Gunners left to play in the running for this Premier League title, when Manchester City are breathing down their necks. 2, individual errors. That has been a big issue for this Arsenal side throughout the campaign. Arsenal have so far conceded 22 Premier League goals after playing 30 games of the Premier League this season. Out of the 22 goals conceded, 10 of those, which accounts for 45.5%, has been a result of individual errors, the highest of any team in the Premier League. We saw it when Gabriel Magalhaes gave away the ball to Evanisson in their 3-2 victory at AFC Bournemouth. We saw it when Martin Zubimendi gifted the ball away to Man United when they were losing 3-2 at the Emirates against the Red Devils. We saw those individual errors play out when Arsenal beat up against Tottenham Hotspur by 4-1. Martin Zubimendi squandering that ball or conceding possession to Joao Paulinho before Richarlison scored. We saw those individual errors in their victory against Brighton. It was David Raya whose blind pass almost cost them, because Carlos Baleba had managed to loop that ball over his head. Had it not been for the timely intervention of Gabriel Magalhaes, who headed the ball out, perhaps the result from that game would have been much different. In their 4-1 victory of the reverse fixture against Tottenham Hotspur at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we saw that it was Declan Rice's error that led to that goal that they conceded through Randall Kolo Muani. So over the long season, or the length of the season, we've seen Arsenal commit multiple errors leading to goals, and as many as 10 goals. So those individual errors that keep coming up every now and then. In any case, over the weekend, as they beat up against Chelsea by 2-1, there was an own goal in that one. Piero Hincap being the suspect in that one, leading to another individual error culminating into a goal. So, oftentimes, Arsenal have been the architects of their own downfall. There's somebody I would want to quote. I don't remember what his name is, but he said that Arsenal are their own biggest enemies and biggest friends at the same time. In other words, oftentimes they have made individual errors that have costed them points, as well as made the right things to win them points. So they will need to cut out those individual errors if they are to see out this Premier League title race with 8 games left to play. The other thing is injuries. Now, injuries are a very big issue. Arsenal came into this season with arguably the best squads, or arguably with one of the best Premier League squads in terms of depth and quality. But as the season has worn on, it's been that kind of season where injuries have been part and parcel of that Arsenal squad. I do not know how many Arsenal players have suffered at least an injury or more than one during the course of this campaign, but it's quite a number. Players like Christian Mosquera, their captain Martin Odegaard has been in and out of the team through injury. Gabriel Jesus started the season with injury. Kai Havertz has been out for the large chunk of the season through injury. Mikel Merino, as we speak, is on the sidelines through injury. Ben White, in and out of the team through injury. Bukayo Saka has had his fair share of injuries. Leandro Trossard, Gabriel Martinelli, Victor Gyökeres have all suffered injuries at some point in the season. Hell, Declan Rice has suffered an injury. William Saliba missed their game against Brighton through injury. Gabriel Magalhaes has suffered an injury at some point in the season. Pierre Hincap has not been immune to that, nor has been Ricardo Carafiori. So, you look all around, and Arsenal have had injury after injury. At one point, it felt that at every end of match weekend, they had an injury to deal with. So they'll have to play that gods be on their sides, and that's the little bit of luck that they need for injuries to be cut out of their run-in to this Premier League title and all the other competitions they are still involved in. Because, like I said, it's a very busy part of the season. They have a final to play in the EFL Cup against Man City. They are in the running for the Premier League title. They are still in the UEFA Champions League, where it's at the round of 16, very critical part of the season, and they are still in the FA Cup. They may have to play one game every month in the FA Cup for as long as they remain in the competition. But when it comes to squad rotation and load management, injuries become a critical part to that. It either determines the load that other players have to contend with, or your flexibility to rotate your team whenever you can. Now, in addition to those injuries, is player fatigue. I've already started to notice this in Arsenal players. Player fatigue is an issue, and a big one. Look at players like Martin Zubimendi. Had a very muted or minute performance against Brighton. But part of that is due to fatigue. Look at Declan Rice. He's had a drop-off in his own form. At some point, or for the better part of this season, Declan Rice has been the standout performer for this Arsenal side. But as we speak, over the last couple of games, his performances have dropped off. Why? I believe it's due to fatigue. It's been a long season, and there's still plenty to play for. So, players like Jurriën Timber, Martin Zubimendi, Declan Rice, for me, have been the key suspects in fatigue of this Arsenal team. They may not be the only ones, but at least they have played the most number of minutes of any other Arsenal player, to the best of my recollection, and I stand to be corrected on that one. Martin Zubimendi, there's no Premier League player that has run more kilometers on the pitch than Martin Zubimendi, at least until the game before playing Brighton. According to The Athletic, I think he's run over 311 kilometers overall. And within that top 10 of Premier League players that have run the most distance, Declan Rice is among those. So, fatigue is not something that comes overnight. It's something that builds up over a given period of time. And for Arsenal, that's going to be a factor. Also, you have players who have never been part of a run into a Premier League title. In any case, you remember one of the advantages that Man City have in this running for the Premier League title, even though they find themselves 7 points behind Arsenal, is they have a host of players that have Premier League experience in terms of winning a Premier League title. Arsenal on the other side only have Gabriel Jesus. In addition to Gabriel Jesus, they have Pierre Hincapié, who has been part of a title-winning side at Bayer Leverkusen under the charges of Xabi Alonso for the 2023-2024 campaign. Besides that, all the others are novices. They've never won a league title. They've never been part of winning a league title. So that lack of experience could also be a defining factor at this stage of the season. For the side of Man City, when you look around, in terms of players with Premier League experience, winning Premier League titles, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake, John Stones, Matthias Nunes, Nico O'Reilly, Jeremy Doku, Brad Erling Haaland, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, all those are players with Premier League experience. Nico O'Reilly has been part of a Manchester City title-winning side before. Of course, in there you will have to add the addition of Pep Guardiola as a manager. Joško Gvardiol, even in his absence, has been part of a title-winning squad. So, when you look around that Man City team, they know a thing or two about winning a title. They have been there before, and they have done it. On the other side, the only experience Arsenal have is being part of a run into a Premier League title, but have not won it. So that could be a factor. So for me, those are some of the things that worry me or that concern me about this Arsenal side in the running for the Premier League title. I'd want my prediction to come true for them to get it over the line and win the Premier League title for the first time in 22 years. The question of whether they can actually do it remains to be seen, because until they do it, some doubts will remain within us, even the well-wishers, that they'll win it. Your thoughts, your views on all that in that submission. Do not forget to like, comment, and share this video so that it can be recommended to others. But also, if it's your first time here on the channel, do me the absolute honor and subscribe to the channel. So, Arsenal's involvement in multiple competitions, which is a good thing because the more competitions you're still involved in, the higher your chances of winning a piece of silverware. But also, that good thing can also work against you because it means more number of games that you have to play. In the UEFA Champions League, every round will demand for a round robin of 2 fixtures each. In the FA Cup, it may be a single game, but that single game is part of the other fixtures that you have to play. At least by the end of March, they'll have one fixture or one competition out of the way. Whether they will have won it or not, that remains to be seen. But that's the final of the EFL Cup. I've already said that Arsenal need to win the EFL Cup. It's a must win for them. It's not a do or die, but it's a must win for them. And the reason for that is because winning that EFL Cup is what gives you the belief, that conviction, that momentum that you need in that group of players that they can actually win something. It's the stepping stone to everything else that they want to achieve. I keep making the point that back in 2018, Pep Guardiola's first trophy with Manchester City was the EFL Cup. They beat Arsenal. I think it was by 3-0 in the finals. Goals scored by, I think, Vincent Kompany and who else? David Silva. I do not remember particularly, but it was by 3-0. No, actually, it was Sergio Kun Aguero among the goal scorers in that one, but the one that came by 3-0. So, Arsenal need to win that final. Come March the 22nd. How will they look like? By the time we'll get to that. your thoughts about my concerns and worries about this Arsenal side in the running to the Premier League title. Thank you and stay blessed.